Okay, I'm getting some gas in the tank here so I can test out the connections on the fuel lines. I just wanted to show you this gas can because it's the best I've ever seen in terms of pouring stuff in. It's got a spout on it. Unfortunately, this wouldn't work on the C3 if the body was on because it's not long enough, because the filler hole there has a small diameter hole with a flap on it that's made for unleaded gas. My 74 works fine, but it's got a huge hole. It's made for a race gas can that just you dump it in. At any rate, all you gotta do is put that in the hole, and this is great for filling lawnmowers and such. You just put it in the hole, press the button, it flows out. If it fills up and it reaches the top of that, then it automatically shuts off with no overflow. Most gas cans today are crap and they're difficult to use, and in the name of safety, I think I've spilled more gasoline. These do have one minor drawback. I went to Costco to fill these up. This had this filter in the can, and Costco they have a new style gas pump handle, and you have to depress. There's a round ring on the front. You have to depress that in order for it to flow. Well, the spout was bottoming out in this filter, or screen I should call it, not filter, and I couldn't compress that ring around the filler here. I had to take that out so that I could press that ring on the edge of the gas can. Then I was able to fill it. But so depending on where you get your gas and what kind of pump handle they have, you may have to take that out. I never had to take it out for any other place. So I'm going to finish filling this, and then we'll get around to hooking up some wires so I can test it. Okay, I've got this set up for the testing of the fuel pump. What I've got is a hot wire coming from a battery that's actually on my piece of lawn equipment there. And then there's a ground wire here. When I plug that in, that should do the connection for the fuel pump. And I can hear it. I hear it pumping. Gonna let it pump for a while, and then I'll go check to see if there's any leakage anywhere. Checked up front, and there doesn't appear to be any up front. Now I've got to look under here, make sure there's none in the back. The good news is I don't smell any gasoline. If it were leaking, at least significantly, I would be smelling some gasoline. Boy, that's tough to see under. can't really see it. Actually, I can. I was looking in the wrong place. And it looks bone dry. And it doesn't smell of gasoline, so by touch it's bone dry. So we're good to go for putting on the body. It's been running for a while now, which it's not a problem to let it run for a while because it's going to be running full time when I'm driving the car. Actually, I did find a little bit of leakage up front, but the good news is it's not at where the rubber connects to the hose. I don't know if we'll be able to zoom in on here, but we're going to try it. It's not even enough to do a drip yet, but it needs to be tightened. It's where I've examined this closely, and this part is not leaking. Where is it? I'm gonna have to dry that off and double check it to make sure it's not leaking at the hose. I think it's leaking at this connection right here between the fuel pump and this AN connection, but I'm gonna dry it off and then look at it some more. So I did dry it off and I did double check it, and it definitely is leaking between the filter and the AN connection. So I'm going to shut off the pump for now and tighten that. That should be no problem to tighten that and get rid of the leak. It's very, very, very tiny. To get some wrenches to do that with. So I'm running the fuel pump again after tightening it, and to be honest, I'm not even sure why I thought that was tight yesterday, because it turned very easily. It was snug, but it was by no means tight. And I'm sure that tightening that up has cured the problem. I also, well, I might need to tighten this one a little bit too. I also checked up at the, I don't even know if you saw what I was pointing to. Yes, you did. Yeah, that one is leaking just a tiny bit. So Again, you can see it moved relatively. I was probably just afraid to nick the fittings. The pump is still running, so and one thing I did yesterday, I said that you know, the customer service guy at Summit Racing, when he was giving me the, you didn't see that, I was up there checking the ones on the sniper unit. Yesterday I said I needed to use the straight one here because the customer service rep at Summit thought that if I wanted to come this way, and they did a 90-degree angle, and it turns out that there are actually 4 ports on this. There's 2 more factory sealed ports here and here. And so I could have used, I would have had to move the plug over here and the AN fitting over here, and I could have used a 90-degree. But I'm happy with the way it is. I think it's going to work out just fine. But I'll know that I have that option if there's something about it that I don't like. So the pump's been running for a while. It is pretty quiet now, probably because it's submerged in gasoline. The electric fuel pump I put on my 74, now that was only like a 7 psi. This is 58 because it was for a carburetor, not fuel injection. And that thing is so noisy that I've pulled into parking spaces and people have asked me, well, what's that noise? And I had to tell them that's the electric fuel pump. And nothing wrong with the car. It really sounds bad. This is quiet enough that once the body's on it and you know you got the engine running, you'll never hear it. So that's it for testing out the fuel line connections. We're good to go to put the body on. But there's a couple other things I want to do before I go putting the body on. I still have to top off the power steering reservoir. That's going to be easier to do with the body off, so I'm going to do it. And I do want to take a shot at fixing, or not fixing, but aligning the front wheels, particularly camber and caster. Toe in, toe out's better done. Well, it's all better done with the weight on the car that's going to be on the car as you're using it. But if you look at these things, I'm going to zoom in and I'll point out the things you have to adjust camber and caster. And I have to figure out how to do it because I think the front adjustment, which is here, I'll loosen up that jam nut and this jam nut and adjust this. That'll move it in right. And on the back, this mostly adjusts camber, this mostly adjusts caster, but I can't see any way that adjusting one or the other doesn't affect the other somewhat. So I'm going to try to give it a shot and get it at least close before I put the weight of the body on it, and that'll be my next video. So stay tuned, have a nice day, thanks for watching.